think I smoked like 4 cigarettes in my life when I was like 5 or 6 years old. That's about it.
I do smoke cigarettes. I smoke cigarettes now.
Todos los días.
Yes. I don't, but I have.
I don't smoke cigarettes either. My boyfriend smokes cigarettes though, and I don't encourage it, but I don't smoke. Nobody in my family smokes.
Yes, I smoke now.
Is there any particular reason why you started?
My parents both smoke. They've been smoking for a long time.
No. Never.
Is there any specific reason?
Not really, just not my thing. Not really big.
I actually have, a couple years ago, with a very different crowd, and it was available to us. It wasn't something, I was never addicted, but it was just something that I enjoyed doing at the time. I stopped because I eventually came to realize that those people were not my friends. They were not who I wanted to be friends with, and I left that kind of group situation, and since then I've been much happier.
If you're comfortable with yourself, you don't have to smoke to be cool, you know, that's not the thing to do.
I don't smoke at all because I'm a vocalist, and I guess that would be the same for you.
No, I've watched what it's done to my mother.
No, I've never smoked a cigarette. No, no. I really hate cigarettes. I've never smoked a cigarette in my entire life.
I think smoking is disgusting, especially for girls.
Well, of course I have friends that smoke.
Not many of my friends smoke at all.
A lot of my friends do smoke.
Yeah, every one of them.
Yeah.
So does my whole family.
Yeah, probably a majority of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I know a couple people that smokes. It's the kind of thing you get into by accident or out of habit, and then once you're addicted, it's really tough to stop. Most of my friends that do smoke, they're trying to stop.
But my friends that don't smoke, I try to tell them not to smoke, you know, because I can't stop. I know that I'm addicted.
I know a bunch of people that smoke, yeah. I know tons of people that smoke. Smoke marijuana, smoke cigarettes.
A lot of my family smokes, and some of my friends. I think it's, well, it's an addiction, but I think that it starts out as something that you try once and can't get away from.
I've worked hard to keep friendships with people who, you know, decide what's important in their life, and to most of my friends, it's just not an issue.
According to the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta, smoking among high school students has dropped to its lowest level in more than 10 years.
In 2003, less than 22% of high school students smoked. This is down from more than 36% in 1991.
Statistics tell us that nearly all first use of tobacco occurs before high school graduation.
The good news is that if teens don't start smoking by age 18, odds are they never will.
For the first time in 20 years, the percentage of high school students that smoke is lower than the percentage of adults that smoke.
Why do teenagers smoke, and how do teens feel about smoking in general? That's what we'll be talking about today in our program, Teens and Smoking. Hi everyone, I'm Jack.
And I'm Beth.
And this is Real Faith TV. At the top of our program, we met a few teens on the street who told us whether or not they smoke, and if many of their friends smoke.
We'll go back to those interviews later in our show to see how informed they are about the dangers of smoking.
In the spotlight today is Christina. She shares with us her experience with smoking and how she convinced her boyfriend to quit smoking.
But first, let's meet our studio guests and get their views on smoking.
They are Matt, Caitlin, Anthony, Cora, Ross, and Katie.
So have any of you guys tried cigarettes, or do you have a lot of friends who smoke?
Well, I've never tried a cigarette because I think it's a disgusting habit. But a lot of kids at my school, they smoke. And when I walk past them outside, you know, you just take a big whiff of it and you smell it. It's like, I don't really like that smell, so I don't get into it.
Yeah, I don't have too many friends that smoke, but at work, like everybody there smokes, and I'm just sitting there like, oh, how?
Yeah, same with where I work. I don't know what the deal is.
It's like, how could you be working and smoking? It's like when you lift and stuff, it could be like you get a heart attack or something.
I think like not a lot of my friends smoke because in my school there's this like program that tells you like not to smoke from when
Rebel? We have that at my school.
We have Babes.
All the kids who are on it smoke though.
Ours,
not in my school.
Ours is called Babes, but it's like they tell us from kindergarten not to smoke, so it's sort of pushed into our heads, you know, don't smoke. So like none of my friends smoke.
A lot of my friends smoke, and people talk about peer pressure in school and stuff, and I really never got that from the kids in my school who smoke. I'll even be able to hang out with them, and they'll be smoking or whatever. I just stay out of the wind. I stay away from being downwind of them. But As long as I don't really have a problem with other people's choices, I think that it's a dirty habit that could hurt them, and I tell them that. But if they make the decision to do it, then there's really nothing you can do except for just be a good friend.
Yeah. No.
It's interesting with the statistics we heard at the beginning of the show, because I know, at least me personally, I know a lot more adults who smoke than I do teenagers. None of my friends smoke, but a lot of my friends' parents do, and a lot of my aunts and uncles, so it's kind of strange. I don't know, to me anyway.
Yeah, I've noticed that there are a lot more teens that aren't smoking as opposed to like a few years ago. Next, let's find out what happened the first time Christina tried cigarettes.
I have tried cigarettes, but I've never smoked. I've never had a habit to it. I've never, I've tried it and I didn't like it, and that was it. I think I tried it because it was there, and my boyfriend was doing it, and my other friend was doing it, and it was just out of curiosity. I just wanted to see how it tasted and what everyone was so crazy about cigarettes for. It honestly hurt me the first time I did it. My lungs felt like they were choking. I felt like I was choking, and I felt like I was dying, and I didn't like it. It wasn't for me. A lot of my friends do smoke because their friends smoke. Some people start social smoking, which they just do it when their friends do it, but even that can be addicting. Actually, a majority of my friends don't smoke, basically because they know that it's bad for them and it's not worth it. And they have family or relatives or friends that have died or have cancer, and that they don't want to end up like them. Well, I know there's a lot of dangers. You can get, mouth disease, tongue disease, gum disease, liver disease, esophagus, erosion of the esophagus, lung disease. There's so many diseases involved, so many, you can't, if you like to do a sport, you can't even do a sport because you're out of oxygen. I love to play hockey, and I couldn't imagine not being able to, skate around on the ice because I would be, stopping every 2 minutes gagging or coughing something up. And there's really nothing good about smoking. You can't even, they say you can lose weight, but you can't even, that's a lie. When you're smoking, what they say you're not going to eat, you're actually going to end up eating what you missed out with that cigarette.
I agree with Christina. There's nothing good about smoking.
And medical research has proved that smoking is harmful to your health.
Today in the United States, smoking causes 1 of every 5 deaths.
Cigarettes kill 1,200 Americans every day, a tragic total of 420,000 American deaths each year.
Do teenagers know about all of these dangers?
Let's go back to the teens on the street to find out if they know about the dangers associated with smoking.
There's no benefit to smoking cigarettes. It's a waste of money, and basically you're asking for lung cancer. There's just no benefit to it, and you're only hurting yourself and your body. Just stay healthy.
Yeah, everything's dangerous just about smoking. You're inhaling fumes into your body that aren't supposed to be there, It's just not supposed to do that.
I know it causes all kinds of lung damage and things like that. I also think that it's a damage to the people you're around because they have to be forced with the secondhand smoke and things like that. But I think there's no real good part to it.
Yeah, I know the dangers of smoking, but just live it up, I guess. Probably will be dead in 10 years anyway.
Could die, cirrhosis of the lungs or something stupid like that. Is that right? And you still smoke? Yeah, I can't stop.
I'm gonna get hypnotized to stop smoking.
Cigarettes are bad for you. They make your teeth yellow and they make your hair fall out. Cigarettes, don't do them. Don't.
I know that it can become a very dangerous habit to get into. It affects you not just, physically, but also it's a mindset. You need this to continue.
There are a lot of dangers. One danger that it's cancer. Another it's not a danger, but it's if a girl comes to meet a guy, she has yellow teeth from smoking, or her breath smells from just having a cigarette outside. That's already danger of not having the guy you want. You know what I mean?
And it makes you older looking. A social thing, it's a consideration thing. When you're smoking and you're around people, not everybody's going to want to be around that, and it's limiting.
Yeah, the health risks, those outweigh the breath smell, but
I'd say lung cancer and just bad lungs.
And
emphysema and like those truth commercials that tell you that you're killing yourself and ruining your lungs and all other fun stuff.
Emphysema, and also because the tar blocks like your arteries and stuff, and it's really bad for you.
Emphysema. Different types of cancer.
I know that very few, if any, people who start smoking when they're young die of old age.
We're more educated than our parents were when they started smoking. You know, the kids that start smoking now, I just think it's retarded. I don't even know why I started. I wish I could take it back. I really do. Wish you could just hit rewind in life or something like that.
I'm sure there are many people like that last guy who wish they had never started smoking because it's so hard to quit.
That's because smoking is habit forming. It's an addiction.
And addictions can't be controlled. They control you.
Addictions limit your freedom to choose the good and do what's right.
You begin to make choices to feed your addiction.
And this often clouds your judgment.
So why do you guys think teenagers start smoking? Do you think if they have started smoking and they knew about the dangers and how addicting it was, maybe they wouldn't have?
I think that part of it is rebellion because they just don't care and they want to do what their parents told them not to do. And some teenagers, I know a lot of people who are really depressed and they're not happy with themselves, so they don't care that they're hurting themselves, and part of them actually wants to hurt themselves, so they start smoking.
Yeah, I think that like teens who start to smoke, they're trying to create an image for themselves so people think they're cool and that they get accepted.
Well, you know,
go ahead.
Yeah, go.
I think that, a lot of the teenagers that start smoking now, they started because they saw someone else do it and they, maybe looked up to that person, thought that person was cool, so they started, and now, they thoroughly enjoy smoking. Like, they need it. They need the nicotine. They need, the kind of rush and the kind of high that they get from smoking, and that's why they can't stop. They don't care about the dangers. They're, enjoying having their cigarette.
Yeah, because they know about the dangers, but it's just, they don't really, not necessarily take it seriously, but it's like, they have that attitude. It's like, bring on the danger.
I think I agree with you guys because, I know at least in my school district, we learn about the dangers of smoking in health class year after year after year. And I guess some people, I don't know if it's that they become immune to hearing that or that they just don't care. I think it really is a peer pressure thing, and not peer pressure in the sense that people are saying, oh, you're a chicken, you don't want to have a cigarette, but peer pressure in the sense that they see other people doing it and they want to look cool, and maybe they just don't have enough confidence in themselves to step away from that.
A lot of the messages counter out each other. You have the messages in health class saying don't do it, and then you have Hollywood and the media glorifying and glamorizing smoking, and you're
look
like,
at cigarette ads.
Who's heard the joke that a model's diet is a cigarette and a Diet Coke? And you think, oh, if I could be a model, I could be a model if I did that. And like, maybe people don't think exactly that, but it has too much.
Subconsciously, kind of.
Yeah, it has too much weight as being something that's okay.
And when you look at cigarette ads, you see like in the more manly cigarettes, you see people out riding their horses and doing all rugged things.
Yachting,
And then in the cigarettes that are directed towards women, you see these beautiful women lounging in bathing suits and looking
like 60
gorgeous.
pounds.
And yeah, so I definitely think that the media has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
And I think the Camel is directed kind of at younger kids. I don't know, like that kind of.
It's an animal.
Yeah. Yeah.
What if they told you you looked like a camel after the end of smoking? And I saw this poster once that was, if she looked on the outside like she did on the inside, would she still smoke? And this woman was completely tarred over. We need to have messages like that on TV. It might be graphic, but it's so true.
Well, I went to a movie theater the other day, and they had a lot of anti-smoking ads, like there's a hippopotamus, and like its rear end was facing you, and it's like, what if you knew your face was going to look like this after 3 years of smoking? It was funny. It may be an addictive habit, but that doesn't mean it's impossible to overcome.
As Christians, we know that with God, all things are possible.
In our next segment, Christina tells us about two of her friends who started smoking.
One of them found that smoking led to more dangerous addictions.
And the other, her boyfriend, was able to quit with Christina's help.
I had a friend, and he started smoking around 12 years old. His friends were doing it, the older kids were doing it. It was cool to do it. And he started smoking, and that didn't give him any, pleasure, so he started going into marijuana. He started smoking marijuana, but that didn't give him a high anymore. So he just that just led him on to, harder drugs like crack, cocaine, heroin. That was giving him a bigger high. And at 18, he was a full addict, so eventually he got into rehab, and thank God he's okay now, but he totally wishes he could erase that whole part of his life because it only gave him a high for so long, and it wasn't even a real high. It was a fake high. It was a substance high. So he's thank God that he gets, a new start, and he's never going to be as healthy as he was because of all that, but he's just thank God that he's on the right path now. He actually blames cigarettes for his whole experience because if he hadn't, been so pressured into smoking, he might not have been pressured into smoking marijuana, and that led to other things. My boyfriend, he broke up with his girlfriend sophomore year, and junior year he started hanging out with these new friends, and they smoked. All of them smoked. They did, crazy things. And he was like, oh, if they have to smoke, I might as well smoke. I don't know if it was to fit in or because they were did it out of curiosity. Then we started going out in February, and I don't like smoking. I think smoking is very unattractive. And I used to tell him, please stop smoking. I don't like smoking. And he's like, okay, I'll stop. Okay, I'll stop. I'll stop by Friday. I'll stop by next week. I'll stop by the end of school. And he told me he stopped, and then I'd catch him, and he'd lie to me, and I'd get mad at him. And that cycle just kept happening until the last day of school. And he finally stopped. And about that same time, he got a call from Italy where his family lives. And they found out his grandpa is dying of lung cancer because he's been smoking. And now he's and they can't operate it on it because he's gonna die. They just can't. It's in a weird spot. It makes me happy now that I can see him do things like people our age can do. Because another thing was he had asthma, so smoking for him wasn't the brightest idea. But now, he can climb. He couldn't even climb up his stairs, walk up his stairs after smoking. He's glad that he stopped smoking because now he's a delivery boy, so he can deliver his pizza without running out of oxygen. And he can get it on time.
It's really scary how Christina was talking about how starting with cigarettes can lead you to pot and then pot to harder drugs. It's a really scary, vicious cycle when you think about it. Do you guys have any similar stories about people you know who became addicted to smoking, or do you know any smokers who've been able to quit?
Well, one neighbor who lives on our block, she's been a smoker for years and years and years. And, nothing really happened to her physically. Like she didn't get sick or anything. But you could tell that she was a smoker. But she became pregnant, and she said, she didn't even need to go through anything. She just said, all right, I'm not smoking again, and that was that.
That takes a lot of willpower to be able to just drop the cigarettes, because that's one of the hardest habits to break. And if someone broke it, they're got a lot of willpower in them.
Yeah, my cousin Matt, he's very addicted to smoking, and day by day he takes one cigarette out of his smoking schedule. So, by now I think he would have one cigarette every 2 days or one cigarette every 3 days. So he's cut down from 3 packs a day to a cigarette every 2-3 days.
Wow.
It's like a gradual process.
Yeah.
I have one friend who tried maybe 3 or 4 different methods of quitting. He tried the gum, he tried the patch, he even had a therapist for a while, and he found that the money he would have been putting towards smoking that he was making from his job was now going towards trying to quit smoking, and trying to quit smoking actually became more expensive than smoking, and he's like, okay, this is just crazy. And one day he just said, okay, instead of having any free time, I'm just going to book myself like crazy. He got another job, he started hanging out with his friends more, he joined a few more clubs, and he just did not have free time anymore. And that's just how he dropped it. He didn't have the time to go off and smoke outside. He was always indoors or doing something or just running around like crazy. So it ended up that instead of using a gum or a patch or a therapist, he ended up just filling his day with everything else.
That's kind of one of my acquaintances. He would smoke, not even a pack, less than a pack a day, and he had a job, and he didn't want a job over the summer, so he quit his job so he wouldn't have to work, and he didn't have the money coming in anymore. And, you know, cigarettes are so expensive, you know, $5-6 a pack. And so he just didn't have the money coming in anymore. So he was like, you know what, I'm just not going to smoke anymore because I can't buy it. And that actually just worked. Like, he didn't have any cravings. He just, like, didn't have the money to get it, so he just didn't smoke. And that was pretty effective. I mean, I watched him go from, you know, smoking less than a pack a day to smoking absolutely nothing a day.
I would sound like that. I'd be afraid, though, that I'd be with friends and they'd be like, oh, you want a cigarette? And if you don't have to buy it, I'd be really afraid of trying to fight the temptation.
I have a friend who, well, he didn't quit smoking, but the story she was telling reminded me of it. He started out with cigarettes, and then he started smoking pot, and then he started doing shrooms. And then to pay for it, he started selling pot and selling shrooms, and it was just getting really out of hand. And I told him that I was like worried about him, and he really needed to stop, and that he was affecting other people, and it just really wasn't healthy. And in the end, he did stop doing the drugs, but he couldn't quit cigarettes. They were even more addictive than the other things. He just, when it came down to it, he didn't have the willpower to stop.
At least he got away from the other stuff, though.
Yeah.
I know my grandmother died of lung cancer before I was even born, and that was enough to make my grandpa quit. I remember growing up, he always had a bag of candy in his pocket, and whenever he got a craving for a cigarette, he would eat a piece of candy. But what's really frightening is that even though he quit such a long time ago, I mean, I'm 18 years old and my grandmother died before I was born, so that's a long time. But I mean, recently my grandpa was diagnosed with lung cancer, and he went into surgery and had to get part of his right lung removed. So, I mean, once you start, I mean, that's it. That stuff you've put into your lungs is there forever, and when you quit, it's still going to be there. So really, just don't start.
Yeah, that's true. My dad's best friend, you know, I've been around for 18 years, and I never remember seeing him with a cigarette. Like, he smoked when he was a younger kid, and then quit, you know, 25 years ago, and you know, we got a phone call 3 years ago saying that he had been diagnosed with lung cancer, and he ended up dying, you know, just a couple months after that. And it was scary to think about, you know, he hadn't touched a cigarette in like 25 years, and he's still got lung cancer.
Yeah, once you get addicted, it stays with you your whole life. Nearly all teens who smoke don't believe they will get hooked.
So the best advice you can give to someone about smoking is not to start.
Next, Christina offers some advice to teens when it comes to smoking.
Don't start smoking. That's my number one advice. Sure, it might look good, but think about it. Do you really want to spend a lot of money on it? Do you really want to, you know, not be able to play your favorite sports or sing? Even when you sing, your voice becomes raspy, and you're not going to have that great talent that you started with. It's basically you're just throwing yourself away to look cool, quote unquote, because you don't really look cool. I'm sorry. My advice to teens who are currently smoking, stop as soon as you can, because the sooner you stop, the better you are. You know, in 24 hours, your body already becomes, your immune system, you know, starts building up, your lung capacity is, you know, bigger. There's more benefits to stopping 24 hours than anything else. My advice to the teens who have friends who smoke, try to get them to stop too. 85% of the smoke out of a cigarette is secondhand smoke, so only 15%, the first smoker, he inhales 15%. So all that other stuff goes to you. So you're also getting harm for what your friend is doing. So he's hurting you more than he's hurting himself. So that's kind of unfair to you too.
It's true. If you smoke around other people, you're harming them as well.
Secondhand smoke subjects your friends to the risks of contracting cancer, emphysema, heart disease, and other diseases that have been linked to smoking.
This is not the way a Christian loves his neighbor.
So what advice do you guys have to teens concerning smoking? Do you feel like our faith can be something that might help someone get over the addiction?
I think addiction is more like a bump in the road, that God doesn't really send it, but when it happens, it's a test for God to see, you know, like how someone would handle the situation.
I have a friend who, instead of having a box full of cigarettes, he had one cigarette in the box and a bunch of pieces of rolled up paper that were the same size. And on each piece of paper was either a prayer or a passage from the Bible. And the passages would be something about loving yourself because you are God's gift to the world, and you have gifts that you need to bestow on your friends, and that you need to be there for them, and all sorts of things about caring for yourself and caring for your people around you if you're, subjecting them to these diseases.
That's really neat.
I think that you should just pray to God and ask Him to help you quit smoking, because He's always there for you and He'll always listen and He will help you get through it.
I think it's important too to remember that, God created us, and He obviously wouldn't want us doing anything to damage our bodies and our health or the health of other people. So I think, if you are smoking and you are addicted, just to ask Him for the strength to quit for your own well-being, because, He created you and He doesn't want you to become sick.
Yeah, God always wants the best for you.
Since more than 3/4 of all teens don't smoke, smoking is one of the least popular things you can do if you want to hang out with other teenagers.
Teens who don't smoke consider smoking to be a disgusting habit.
In a CDC survey of teens from across the nation, teens overwhelmingly are turned off by seeing someone smoke.
They would rather date people who don't smoke.
And they dislike being around smokers.
So if you don't smoke now, don't start.
And if you do smoke, try to quit. Do it for yourself and for those who love you.
What has your experience been with smoking? We want to know.
Contact us through our website.
The address is www.realfaithtv.com.
Or call us at 609-406-7402.
And here's one last thought. Teens who smoke to create an image want others to think they're cool.
This allows the risky behavior of smoking to falsely communicate who you are, rather than daring to let people know the real you.
When you pretend to be someone else, you don't love yourself or appreciate the unique you God created you to be.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on
Real Faith TV.
God bless.